Happy Thursday night. 49ers getting ready to head down to LA. One more day of practice in Santa Clara before the flight down to LAX, which is right by SoFi Stadium. Very convenient for those of you who just want to do the surgical strike down to the Southland. You fly into LAX. LAX is right by Inglewood. Inglewood is where SoFi Stadium is, and it's a quick Uber. Although I do realize now that LAX makes it really tough with the Ubers, right? You can't get the Uber straight to your terminal. You have to take the shuttle to the Uber parking lot. And then from the Uber parking lot, you can finally get your ride. So maybe that's a little bit harder than it should be. But LAX is the worst airport in the world, at least in America. So, well, you can't really expect anything more out of them. But anyway, SoFi Stadium's awesome. Been there a few times. Every single time that I've been there have been more 49ers people than Rams people. And that includes 2020 when I was there and there were no Rams people because there were also no 49ers people. So I would think that the 49ers support staff in that game, that was you heard a lot of noise. Let's just put it that way. You heard a lot of noise in the 49ers bench in an empty SoFi Stadium in 2020. Still one of the coolest experiences that I've ever had watching I sat out in the stands for a few minutes of that game, kicked my feet up onto the seats in front of me, and I was like, I am watching an NFL game without anybody present. And before that game, I walked up into the upper deck of SoFi Stadium, and there were still nails there. There was still construction debris there because there were no fans in that first year of the stadium. So they decided that they weren't going to clean up after they finished building it. So as I walked up around the upper deck with no restrictions, nobody stopped me anywhere. There was no caution tape. I still saw the construction debris, the nails and all that was part of the original construction effort. But boy, that place is a palace. It's right across the street from the Great Western Forum. The Great Western Forum, obviously the home of the Showtime Lakers, of Wayne Gretzky and the Los Angeles Kings in hockey. I mean, an iconic venue, right? And SoFi Stadium just architecturally dwarfs it. You're right across the street there. I believe it's Pinkay Drive. You can correct me if I'm wrong, those of you from LA, but you could see that contrast. And, go ahead and make sure you subscribe to the channel right now because I'm going to do the old stadium tour from SoFi on Sunday. And that stadium tour is always one of the most viewed ones. Been there several times now. I'm going to walk to the very top of the upper deck. We're going to check it out, and we'll give you the view of the Great Western Forum and everything else. The only downside of SoFi Stadium is that it has artificial turf. Good airport access. I don't know what the tailgate scene's like. Don't ask me about that, but great architecture, good history right across the street from the Great Western Forum. It's mainly 49ers fans, which is crazy, right? But road games turn into home games with 70% red in the stands. I mean, everything going for SoFi, except for the fact that it has artificial turf. And we know that artificial turf is not good for player health. It's been documented. More injuries happen, non-contact injuries on artificial turf than they do on natural grass. All right, so this is promised to be a 49ers Q&A. I wanted to wait till the crowd built up a little bit, and I'm going to go through some of this. Fly to the Burbank airport, but why would I fly to the Burbank airport if LAX is 5 minutes from SoFi and Burbank is 2 hours through LA traffic? I love Burbank. Good Southwest hub. I get it. If you're just going to the LA area in general, if you're trying to hit downtown, if you're trying to hit Hollywood, you could just go right over the hills right there and you're good. But again, SoFi Stadium is right by LAX. Now, for other reasons, I'm flying into John Wayne this week because my best friend lives down in Newport Beach. So I'll fly into John Wayne, but I'll fly out of LAX. And LAX is just so convenient. I mean, you do an LAX airport hotel for the game, and that's just how it works. But I agree. I mean, LA pro tip right here from Sam Wilson. Burbank Southwest. Burbank, they haven't rebuilt their terminal since the 1960s in Burbank. You pull up in your jet that's way too big for the terminal, and you walk into the airport and you're like, oh boy. They call it the Bob Hope Airport, right? Yeah, it looks like it was built in 1963. And that's not necessarily a bad thing in an LA area that, I mean, is just overrun, right? Traffic and all that. And LAX is, I think, very indicative and symbolic of that whole LA area. Ooh, Niner Faithful says fly to Long Beach. I've done that one before too. Didn't JetBlue pull out of Long Beach though? I think they pulled out of Long Beach. So Long Beach is not nearly as convenient as it used to be. It used to be $39 going from LA to or San Francisco to LA. We have a question about T.Y. McGill. Will he play in this game? I don't think so. I mean, he's on the practice squad. The 49ers would have to activate him on Saturday. Kevin Givens has been playing really well against the Rams. If they feel desperate enough at defensive tackle, if they don't think that Kevin Givens will deliver one of his signature performances against the Rams, maybe you raise up T.Y. McGill. But the point is to stop the interior running game. And if you can't stop the interior run game, then maybe in subsequent weeks you turn to T.Y. McGill. But the 49ers with Givens, I get they had Armstead for part of the game last time. But with Kevin Givens, with Hassan Ridgeway, with Akeem Spence, they've done it. I know the past couple of weeks they haven't. I think that T.Y. McGill is the break glass in case of emergency option for the 49ers. And yeah, I mean, he's a good pass rusher, but I don't know just how effectively he's going to be able to stop that interior run game for the 49ers. There was a reason why Minnesota didn't hold on to him. I know injuries were part of it, but if he was a dominant defensive tackle that would be able to solve the interior run issues that the 49ers have right now, I don't think that Minnesota would have cut him. Again, for that defensive tackle position in the wide nine to combat the run the way the 49ers need the run to be combated, you generally need just a physical, just a gargantuan. You need a colossus in there, a giant, right? That's why Javon Kinlaw, Eric Armstead, all these players have been plus physical size kind of guys that the 49ers have pursued and tried to stick into that defensive tackle spot. With DJ Jones being the fire hydrant type, more the nose tackle. But DJ obviously signed for $10 million a year with the Denver Broncos. Verrett was limited in practice today, was not full go in practice today. Will the Niners make any more moves, under the radar moves like previous seasons? Yeah, maybe some defensive tackle depth like we said. But again, most of those moves were developmental moves in previous seasons that didn't really kick into gear until later on. Now, Charles Omenihu showed up against the Cowboys in the playoffs. So that was something, right? But it took a few games for him to get going. Jordan Willis, you really reaped the benefits of that move a couple years down the line. Maybe 1 year down the line. Let's put it. Yeah, they got him in 2020, 2021 playoffs, but still it took some time. So when you make moves at this point, if they're microtransactions, you can't really expect the splash. Now, everybody asks about Ndamukong Suh. My question is, does Ndamukong Suh want to come off the couch and play right now? I checked his Instagram the other day. He seems really happy with his family. He's made a lot of money over the course of his career. What kind of shape is he in right now? You know, fans are just going to sit on their couches or sit on Twitter and scream, sign this guy, sign that guy. But if the guy doesn't actually want to strap it up and play tackle football right now against some of the biggest and strongest men in the world, then it's going to be hard to convince him, especially if he's made a lot in his career. So I don't know where Suh is right now. Maybe he's chomping at the bit to play, and maybe the 49ers lose this weekend. They get desperate and they sign Ndamukong Suh over the bye. I don't know, right? But it has to be. It's a two-way street. It takes two to tango. You don't just sign guys like you do in Madden, where you click on a guy and you say, "Hey, I'm going to sign him." It takes the signee to want to sign as well in this situation. I heard that Kyle Juszczyk's finger surgery went well, but the 49ers don't expect him back until after the bye. And I mean, yeah, this is the most likely case with Ndamukong Suh. He's probably done. Everybody likes the big name, so you toss the name out there, but then you can't just keep on obsessively asking about it, because if he really wanted to play and the 49ers really wanted him, they probably would have already signed him. Why not give up on the wide nine and tighten up the middle until the 49ers get a dominant defensive tackle back? I mean, that's something they might do if the Rams beat them. They might make some of those schematic adjustments. They do have a lot of belief in a guy like Kevin Givens, though. And Givens gave the Rams all they can handle in week 4. He gave them all they can handle the previous time they played him in the regular season last year. So, and week 10 last year, Kevin Givens was good. So, the 49ers have built their defense a certain way. They're not just going to abandon it because they don't currently have a couple of their starters on the defensive line. They believe in their depth too. They think those guys can carry the train for the time being. Now, if they can't carry the train for multiple weeks in a row, then you start to rethink it. But they still believe that they can get something done against the Rams and an offensive line that hasn't been really good for the Rams so far this season. Smash that like button. There you go. Smash the like button. Appreciate you guys. The Rams are 31st in rushing, 29th in points. Kansas City was an outlier and easily the toughest game of the year for the 49ers. Not worried on the year. Yeah, I mean, Kansas City is really good, and the 49ers hope they play an even tougher game in the Super Bowl against either Kansas City again or Buffalo. But point taken. The Kansas City Chiefs are really good. Offensively, they're obviously elite. Defensively, a little sketchier. 49ers still put up 23 despite a so-so performance. So I think that game played out to Kansas City's rankings, right? The Rams, though, they haven't played good offense at all this year. And the preview for me is coming tomorrow. So like the video, sub to the channel. I'll link you the athletic preview that's coming out in the morning. The Rams have been not bottom of the barrel, but they've been lower third offensively this year. The big thing about the Rams is that they failed to preserve the structural integrity of the trenches. Andrew Whitworth retired. They let Von Miller walk in free agency. They couldn't afford him. He went to Buffalo. And it's, not surprising, right, that the offensive line and the defensive line have both eroded for the that was a Freudian slip. I just said the Lambs for the Rams. The offensive line and the defensive line have both eroded for the Rams, and those are the foundations of any football team. Again, it doesn't matter what Christian McCaffrey will do for the 49ers if they can't block well up front. So the offensive line is the be-all, end-all, and I've criticized the 49ers team building on the offensive line plenty. They've surprised me a bit with how they've performed on the interior, but there's still some questions at right tackle with Mike McGlinchey, right? And if they don't get those questions answered, the acquisition of Christian McCaffrey won't really matter. So same thing with the Rams. You can have Cooper Kupp. You can have all these, Matt Stafford. You can have all these fancy plays from Sean McVay. But if that offensive line doesn't block, it doesn't matter. And that's what's happened so far. Fun fact for you. Not fun for the Rams fans, but the Rams were number 1 in ESPN's pass block win rate last season. They won the Super Bowl. The Rams ranked number 23 in ESPN's pass block win rate this year. Pass block win rate measures how long offensive linemen hold their blocks for 2.5 seconds or longer successfully. Rams ranked number 1 in pass pro last year, down to number 23 this year. You lose Whitworth. Noteboom is terrible at left tackle. He tore his Achilles, so he's done. They're going to move Alaric Jackson out to left tackle. Brian Allen, their center, gets hurt against the 49ers. They went all the way down to their third-string center. It was a disaster in week 4. 35 pressures for the 49ers, 7 sacks. Guess what? It's not going to be as easy for the 49ers this week. But the Rams still have fallen off tremendously along the offensive line. And these stats right here from Hamad, you could see them right there. They're all true. It's because the Rams have fallen off along the offensive line. Jason, with Jason Verrett activated, will we be seeing any of him in the game on Sunday, or was that just to meet the deadline? That's TBD. I think we won't see anything from Jason Verrett until after the bye on natural grass. I predict this a while ago. I said November 13th, San Diego. I know the Chargers are on LA now. I know their home stadium SoFi, but let's just call them the San Diego Chargers because that feels more right. I felt Jason Verrett against his former team, the Chargers, on natural grass, Levi's Stadium, Sunday Night Football, after a bye week made the most sense. I didn't think that artificial turf where Jamar Taylor tore his ACL for the 49ers in 2020 would be a good spot to bring Jason Verrett back into the fold. He's been limited at practice on Wednesday and Thursday. I think that all corroborates the theory that he won't be back until after the bye. They met the deadline by activating him from PUP. They've done enough for now. He's been limited in practice. Let's wait until after the bye week. That is my prediction. People still asking about getting Brady? Probably, because people on the internet like to ask stuff like that. But Brady has not looked great. Speaking of eroding rosters, Tampa Bay has had an eroding roster over the past couple years. What's the strategy to beat LA? Well, the strategy has been quick release pass game. Aaron Donald came out and said we got to make Jimmy Garoppolo hold on to the ball longer, though, because the 49ers have beat him in 2.4 seconds or less here in the last couple of meetings they've beaten them. Here's the key. In week 10 last year, the 49ers averaged 2.4 seconds from snap to release, or Garoppolo did. So quick snap to release. Don't let that pass rush hit home. Don't let Aaron Donald take over the game. Week 4 this year, same thing, 2.41 seconds snap to release. Week 18 last year, 49ers win, 2.5 seconds snap to release. The Rams' lone win out of the most recent 8 tries was the NFC Championship game. Jimmy Garoppolo, 3.1 seconds from snap to release. They played tiger coverage. They found a way on the back end to force the 49ers to let plays develop a little bit longer. They took the quick release game away, and boom, Aaron Donald hit home. The Rams pass rush hit home, and they won. So the key, in this game is, can the 49ers continue running quick release? Because if they don't have Deebo Samuel, it's going to be a lot harder to run quick release, right? Christian McCaffrey, yeah, maybe, but the timing there, it's all work in progress. Christian McCaffrey, his last game with the Carolina Panthers was the Rams' most recent game. The Rams had a bye week this past week. Their most recent game was at SoFi against Christian McCaffrey and the Panthers. Now they show back up after their bye week, and they're facing Christian McCaffrey again, but this time he's on the 49ers. That's kind of wild, right? Anyway, it just illustrates that the 49ers recently acquired Christian McCaffrey. The timing for that short game might still be a little bit of a work in progress. Deebo Samuel hasn't practiced on Wednesday and Thursday. That's tough for the 49ers. They hope to get him back, but I don't know. After not practicing on Wednesday and Thursday, I saw Juwan Jennings running off on the side, but I didn't see Deebo Samuel. Anyway, long story short, quick release is the way to beat the Rams. That's the game plan for the Rams. Quick release, pass to set up the run. That's what the 49ers did in week 4. That's what the 49ers did last year in week 10. In week 18, everything kind of hit the fan, right? They fell behind 17-0, I believe, 17-3. Fell behind a lot to a little. They had to get desperate and come back, and they were explosive, and they came back in that game. Deebo threw a touchdown pass. That was all great. But the sustainable formula for the 49ers to beat the Rams is through the quick passing game. I think that's the way that you're going to be able to pass to set up the run. All right, 1 or 2 more, then I'm done. Donald did mention that Christian McCaffrey is a headache to game plan against. One or 2 more. Let's go. No, there's no truth to the Shanahan or Lynch being on the hot seat with the Orcs. Those aren't reports. Those are just media people going out there for some clicks. As somebody on social media or somebody that's reporting on the team, you don't get to put a coach on the hot seat. The coach is on the hot seat when the owner thinks he's on the hot seat. And Kyle Shanahan will not think about firing Kyle Shanahan or Jed York until at the soonest the 49ers have 2 consecutive bad seasons. That's my theory. And the 49ers haven't even had 1 consecutive bad season since their NFC Championship berth last year. They're 3-4 right now. They started 3-5 last year. Everybody in the league seems to be 3-4 right now, unless you're Tampa Bay or 3-5. There's a long way to go, folks. There's a long way to go before this season's even bad. And then guess what? Trey Lance, he's the guy that the 49ers, Shanahan, and Lynch have tethered themselves to. Then he comes back next year. So unless this season is the most catastrophic bomb of all time and the 49ers don't win any more games, then Shanahan and Lynch are giving this a run with Trey Lance next year, or at least they'll have the runway to give this a run with Trey Lance next year. So, hot seat, that's just something that shouldn't be talked about right now because it doesn't, it doesn't, reflect reality. Anyway, we're going for about 20 minutes. So everybody like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll talk to you all soon. Just a fun little late night Lombardi on Thursday night. Thanks, guys. Elijah Mitchell's back on November 13th. That's my prediction, too. Talk to everybody soon. Take care.